Are they ready?
Sorry.
Okay, we'll call this meeting of the Guam Election Commission to order. It is now 5:33 p.m. We are here at the Guam Election Commission conference room at Oka Building in Tumuning, Guam. It is Thursday, April 11th. We are also live stream on the GEC website at gec.guam.gov/board. Present today are commissioners, myself, Jerry Crisostamo, Chairman, Vice Chairman Joe Mafnas, Commissioner Ricky Orsini, Commissioner Joe Meno, Commissioner Benny Panaula, Commissioner Tony Gumatauto. Commissioner Pat Seville will be late. Also with us is Executive Director Maria Pangilinan and our legal counsel, Vince Camacho. So we have quorum. Certification public notice requirements in your packet. There's copies of the notice requirements that were posted in the Guam Daily Post and the Guam public notice website on April 4th and April 8th. Okay, any questions? Moving on to the approval of agenda. You did receive the agenda ahead of time, so I just entertain a motion to approve the agenda as submitted. Okay, a motion by Commissioner Panaula to approve the agenda. Is there a second to that motion?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Orsini. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay. Approval of minutes. Our last meeting was March 21st. And the minutes are attached. I entertain a motion to approve the minutes subject to corrections.
Before we move the approval of minutes, just one
Yes.
minor correction. Under Joseph Mafnas, it should be vice chair, not chair. Because we only have one chairman. Thank you.
We could be co-chairs. Thank you, Vice Chair. So the approval of minutes subject to corrections? Yeah, sir.
Subject to corrections, I move that the minutes of our last meeting be approved.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Gumatauta to approve the minutes of March 21st, subject to corrections. Is there a second to the motion?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Orsini. All those in favor say aye. Aye. Oppose? Okay, moving on to item 5, correspondences. Maria?
Mr. Chair, the letter appears on page 11.
Okay, has everybody had an opportunity to review the letter? How do you want to proceed with the?
Legal counsel?
Commissioners, in response to the request, I've provided a memorandum analyzing the case as what we've always done when there is a question of qualification with regard to a candidate. And so if you have in your packet the confidential memo, and I can address any questions with regard to the findings or the analysis presented in that memo.
So the correspondence on received on or dated March 28th is from Mrs. Debbie Lujan regarding candidate qualification for the mayor of Jonia. And I believe the commission had asked legal counsel to review the letter and also provide your opinion on that.
Correct.
Correct. And I think that opinion is attached to the packet. So, does everybody have it? So are there any I just want to open up for discussion on it. I know it's pretty lengthy. And the issue is whether the candidate is qualified based on the police and the court records that were submitted, whether that candidate is qualified to run for this office.
That's correct. Under the Guam election statute, actually outlines the qualifications for the candidacy or the qualifications for elected office in Guam. And the specific statute is Section 6110, wherein it does state that notwithstanding any provision of law, all candidates for any elected public office, board, or commission shall not have been convicted of a felony and shall not have been convicted of a misdemeanor involving criminal sexual conduct or a crime of moral turpitude. And so based upon the reports that were filed, there was a criminal misdemeanor conviction on the record. We pulled the file, reviewed the file, reviewed case law with regards to, because Guam law does not specifically outline what is specifically or explicitly a crime of moral turpitude, and therefore we have to go to case law to determine what courts have determined to be a crime of moral turpitude. And so based upon the case law, and there's numerous case law, including case law in Guam that goes all the way to the Ninth Circuit, the United States Ninth Circuit, sort of defines a crime of moral turpitude is a crime that involves evil intent with the specific intent to injure or seriously bodily injure an individual. And so based on the facts presented in the complaint, based upon the facts in the plea agreement, which amounts to a conviction, it is determined that the actions presented in the complaint and agreed to in the plea agreement can amount to a crime of moral turpitude, notwithstanding the fact that it is a misdemeanor. So again, the Guam law says, shall not have been convicted of a misdemeanor involving a crime of moral turpitude. And so this is probably one of the first times, at least since I've been legal counsel, where we've actually had to analyze what is a crime of moral turpitude. And as you can see through the lengthy analysis, we went through a lot of review of case law to sort of try to figure out what the courts have determined to be a crime of moral turpitude. And I mean, so some of the case law says if it's fraud, it's automatically a crime of moral turpitude. But just because there is like family violence doesn't necessarily mean it's a crime of moral turpitude, because it could just be an argument where someone's calling each other names or someone's threatening someone, but there's no bodily injury. But the line, according to the case law, is when there's bodily injury and there's an intent to injure the individual. And so that's where the analysis sort of lands. The other thing we looked at is because the case was a 1992 case, whether Guam law or whether the case law allows for the commission to consider the passage of time with regard to the conviction. Based upon the review of the case law, it does not appear, if we look at the statute, that the passage of time would be a qualification to disregard the crime of moral turpitude. And if you look at the statute, it doesn't say a crime of moral turpitude committed within 10 years or within 20 years. And so what the case law says is that if the statute doesn't delineate a specific time where you can consider that conviction or that event as a qualifying factor, then the law's intent is not to have a qualifying factor. And so that's what the analysis
So
says.
the passage of time, it basically just remains.
Correct.
without
And
any-
it also coincides with other provisions in Guam law that's, like, for example, anyone convicted of a family violence offense is automatically removed from a board or commission in Guam law, right? So, and there's no passage of time delineated in that statute. So the cases have basically said, absent the statutory provision that allows for a passage of time of 10 years, such as statute of limitations or any, if you were convicted and 10 years later that conviction goes away or is disregarded for a specific, there's nothing in Guam law that has that with regard to someone holding public office. So that just means anyone who wants to be in public office has to qualify under 6110.
Okay. I'll open up for any further discussion on the matter. Any of the commissioners have anything to add? Questions, comments? Too legal? We don't need to act on anything here, do we?
The commission needs to act because the GEC needs to know whether this individual is qualified to be put on the ballot.
So it'll be up to the commission to make that decision, and the commissioners
Yes.
to vote on that. Okay. So, that's why I open up for any discussions or comments that we have based on the legal opinion that legal counsel provided. Otherwise, we would move to accept legal counsel's written opinion on it, and which recommends that the candidate is not qualified for public office, correct?
Correct.
Mr. Chair, what's the question exactly before the commissioners?
Whether the candidate that filed for the mayor's, to run as mayor of Jonia is qualified based on the arrest and conviction record. And so what we've asked the legal counsel to do is to provide his opinion based on research, whether or not the crime that was committed is considered a crime of moral turpitude.
So the question is whether she is qualified.
And counsel is right. I did my own research on assault, and assault may or may not be a crime of moral turpitude depending on the willful intent to harm. And if you read the proceedings from the court, I think it's pretty clear. And I think, it's noble for the candidate, it's a noble intent to help her village based on her letter that she provided to the commission. But as commissioners, we're bound by the law of those that are qualified to run for public office.
So if the question before us is whether the candidate is qualified to run, my vote's going to be she's qualified to run, simply because I'm uncomfortable with deeming somebody unfit to run if we don't have sufficient language in the law to guide us. I think that should be a decision of the legislature that passed that law. And because it's absent of what explicitly they meant by crime of moral turpitude, I don't think I'm in a position to make that determination where the legislature didn't. So if it's to find her fit, my vote is to find her fit.
Okay, any other comments? Yeah.
Mr. Chair, listening to our legal counsel, he's guiding us according to what the law provides. And yes, we oftentimes need to go beyond perhaps what the law provides, but is it clear in our minds? In everybody's mind here, is it clear that the crime committed?
Well, as legal counsel has stated, without specific statute defining what a crime of moral turpitude is, then you subject yourself to case laws, and that's what he used. I don't want to be in the commission to be in a position to set precedents, and I don't know previous commissions. Joe has served on it previously. I've come across these types of situations. I know that there have been candidates that have been elected. Board of Education happened, even senator, and the conviction was discovered. And that typically should fall on the commission to determine the qualification and do the due diligence, whether they're qualified or not. And Commissioner Orsini made a good point. I mean, unless there's specifics as to what is a crime of moral turpitude, and I don't know if a lot of states have that, but I know if you Google it, there's a definition of, what is considered. And it's a misdemeanor, but it's a misdemeanor based on whether it's a crime of moral turpitude, and that's what we're wrestling with. And I think this is the only candidate so far that we are coming across, right? That we know of. Okay.
So in the absence of a defined definition of moral turpitude, we are being asked to make a
Right,
decision.
whether the candidate is qualified based on that to run.
Mr. Chair, I have a question to Madam Director. The documents that were submitted, i.e. the court clearance, did it stipulate?
So the candidate is required to submit the police clearance and a court clearance. So initially, the police clearance had the arrest record. The court clearance, the initial one submitted, did not. It had.
The initial one had it indicated in the court clearance. Then upon filing, the Superior Court clearance that was submitted did not have it. So upon checking with legal counsel, there was a mistake made at the Superior Court side. So the candidate was asked to go pick it up again to submit the accurate court clearance.
So do we have that?
Yes.
Amended one? Okay. Or corrected one? So the records indicate that, yeah.
Yeah, so Maria, did the person in question, did submit that corrected copy, or do we have the corrected copy that was supposed to submit it?
Yes, we do. We
Yes.
have it.
You have it?
Okay, so anybody have any comment?
Just one comment. I'm curious, how do we interpret the law when the law is silent on a specific matter? That's kind of like where I'm at. How do we interpret the law when the law is silent on a specific matter?
Yeah. Good point.
Just one quick question for the legal, though. Are we subject in the event, this is me, that we allow this person to be on the ballot? Is there anything that would be against?
Well, someone can challenge the commission's determination, because if the opinion says that it's leaning likely to be a crime of moral turpitude, and that would mean that the commission has violated the qualification provision of the law, right, by allowing it. It's important that the commission make a determination, because then, right now, no one has standing to challenge anything because there's nothing to challenge, right? But either way you go, I mean, the problem is, in this case, everything is due by May 3rd,
Yeah.
and your next meeting is not till
Yeah.
after that
that,
date.
right.
And so if you don't make a determination, GEC cannot act on whether to qualify the individual or not, right? And that's important because that needs to, that needs to get challenged. But generally what happens is if the law is not clear, and not every jurisdiction defines moral turpitude, and that's why we go to case law, right? The case law is to help guide the interpretation of the statute where there are questions. And so just based upon the case law that's presented, unfortunately Guam doesn't define it. There are other jurisdictions that specifically define what it is.
And I think that's Commissioner Orsini's comment is that, it's not clearly defined for us and it could be interpreted. Because assault could be, depending on the degree, and whether it's defined as an aggregate, crime of moral turpitude can be interpreted into many different ways. So. Commissioner Seville is present now, but Commissioner, we're discussing item under correspondences, the letter from Ms. Debbie Lujan, who is a candidate for the mayor of Jonia. And the question before us, we've asked legal counsel to provide an opinion on that, whether she is qualified based on her police record and court record that was submitted, whether she's qualified to run for mayor. And I just kind of open up for discussion. Vince presented his opinion, his findings. There's a memo there, and we're just discussing that. But we would have to make a determination here.
No, it's a tough issue, and I agree. And actually, it's a well-written memo. So, and I believe 1992.
30 some years ago.
Yeah.
31 years ago. Yeah. And the statute doesn't provide on the passing of time. It could be 100 years ago. It's still there. It could be 10 years ago.
Yeah.
And so we would have to make that determination as commission tonight, whether it moves forward for qualification before the May 3rd deadline.
So,
And,
Mr. Chair, I'm
yes.
sorry. So, should the commissioners not take action on this? Basically means the Guam Election Commission is not able to move forward because of the date of the packets that are due, right? And our next meeting is not until the 16th.
Well, the candidate files before the 3rd, without us tonight making any decision, then it moves, that candidate packet moves forward.
No, I would not recommend, because that would put the onus on Maria's
the commission,
decision.
right.
She doesn't have the authority.
Which
to
is
make that
why we
decision.
want to be the one to make that decision as commission.
Mr. Chair, the candidate is asking if she can speak. We know, I told her that we normally wait until public comment.
Yeah, so typically, because this is a deliberation, public participation is on the agenda and you can address it. But I mean, I'm open if the commissioners have any objection to having the candidate, address us. This is not an inquiry, but we can waive those so that you can address us if you want to do that now that you're here. Debbie Lujan, right? Debbie Lujan, yeah. So you want to come up to the...
Yeah.
now, so we don't have to... just state your name and then...
Yes, hi, I'm Debbie Paredo Lujan, and I'm running for the mayor of Jonia. I've already completed my packet. I've filed already, and Mrs. Maria came back with me, and because of the issue with the court stating that I didn't have any case. But I spoke to my attorney, and under his law, my case is actually a petty misdemeanor. It had nothing to do with moral turpitude that he's saying, wicked acts of violence or anything of that nature. I am just, it was just a mutual combat that we had with another person, and we agreed to disagree, and we got it down in the court, settled it down, and it became a petty misdemeanor. So I don't know where, according to my attorney, where in their books is it moral turpitude. Somebody just kind of brought that to make that, I don't know, make it more worse than it really is. It was really just a misdemeanor. It's a CM case, and according to my attorney, I shouldn't have any problem running for candidate. So that's why I figured I can continue my campaign and continue doing what I'm doing. And I went back to the executive director, Maria, and she said she allowed me to continue my campaign. I'm all out there in my village. My billboards are up. I've done used all my money, trying to get to my village. And now I'm being told that they're considering it moral turpitude is their way of saying they can say my case differently. So I'm just asking for all of you guys, commissions, to look it over again and please reconsider, because it's been a 31-year-old case. I have nothing that follows, and I'm just there to help my village. I'm there to help bring back my village.
Okay.
And like I said, according to my attorney, there was nothing in your handbook that would state that I would be under moral turpitude. No wickedness, none of that kind of violence. So someone, I don't know what it is, but it was really just a misdemeanor. And I do apologize, for that action 31 years ago, but I'm just a citizen of Guam that's just trying to help my village get back on its feet.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, so back to any further comments or discussions before we decide to take a vote? And the vote is basically is to accept the recommendations by legal counsel? Is that what it is? Or to determine the qualification?
Well, it's whether they meet the qualification based on what the election code says. And so it's legal counsel's advice, and it's up to the commission to decide.
To accept the advice?
Yeah, so unfortunately, it falls on the commission. There's no one else that can make this determination, because you guys determine the qualifications. And yes, it is unfortunate, but the facts presented are just really the facts presented. And all we did was basically take a look at what the case law says and apply those facts to what the courts have determined to be crime of moral turpitude and present it to you guys. I mean, the facts speak for themselves. No one's making up anything. It's just we took what the courts have determined to be a crime of moral turpitude, applied the facts as they were stated in the complaint as well as in the plea agreement, and made the analysis that way. And it's very important, and this is a hard decision, but it is a decision that will resonate going forward. And I don't know if anything has happened in the past with regard to these types of decisions prior to me being the legal counsel, but you're basically almost setting precedent. So if someone else comes in either in this election cycle or next election cycle with maybe, it is a criminal misdemeanor, that's what the law says. If it's a conviction of a criminal misdemeanor as a crime of moral turpitude, then they're not qualified, right? And so anyone coming in with a criminal misdemeanor case, that's why we have to review the facts, because not every criminal misdemeanor is a crime of moral turpitude. And that's what makes this case sort of different, is that the facts presented fit within the scope of what courts have determined to be a crime of moral turpitude. In other cases, family violence in some cases are not. If you're just yelling at each other, and even if you throw something at someone, it could be an accident, or you don't intend to hurt anyone when you throw someone out of anger. So that may not be a crime of moral turpitude. But when you hit someone and you kick them, that's where the line now is crossed over, right? Because you don't hit someone and you don't kick someone without the intent to hurt them.
Yeah, and I think it's clearly described in the court
Yeah.
proceedings that are in the packet, so.
So,
Yeah, I just, I know there's been a couple of cases that I'm aware of that individuals got elected and only to find out that they have a record, and it put the commission on defense as to how did that happen. And that's why I don't want to be in a position, at least in this commission, to set any kind of precedents. So, okay. Commissioner, you got something to say before we? No? Okay. Commissioner Pat, you have anything to add?
I think the fact that, and the candidate correctly points out that although it's termed an assault, it was reduced to a petty misdemeanor. So the statute seems to be, our Guam election law statute first says felonies, so it's contemplating serious crimes, or misdemeanors involving criminal sexual conduct, which is of course, just by its very nature, a very serious crime, or crimes of moral turpitude. What she was convicted of was a minor mutual combat, petty misdemeanor. And that doesn't strike me as being within the intent of the statute here. It seems to fall below that. I don't know, I just don't see how that involves, as counsel's memo pointed out, sometimes domestic violence assault cases can actually be considered not to be moral turpitude. So and those would seem to be more serious types of crimes. So I think a petty misdemeanor for a bar fight that was reduced because it was, the court accepted that there was some mutuality. I would, between the candidate and the victim at the time, I think that's just not covered by the statute. My thoughts.
Okay. So I guess we'll take a vote. Is that what it is? Motion to accept accept the candidate's qualification as submitted? Or are we voting on, we're not voting on the legal counsel's recommendation?
I think you just need to vote on whether the candidate is qualified
Qualified,
pursuant to 6110.
Okay. So I think given the facts before us in the packet and legal counsel's opinion and recommendation on there, I think there's enough information there that we've discussed, maybe not so much at length, but we want to be able to vote and settle the qualification issue as candidates. So is there a motion to accept?
Mr. Chair, I'll make the motion to accept Ms. Debbie Paredo Lujan as fit to be a candidate for public office.
Okay, there's a motion by Commissioner Ricky Orsini to accept Debbie Lujan's candidate qualifications as mayor of Georgia. Is there a second to that motion?
I'll second it, Mr. Chair.
Okay, second by Commissioner Benny Penala. Any further discussions? Okay, all those in favor of that motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Or any opposition? Any abstention? Okay, the ayes have it, then candidate is qualified. Okay? Okay, moving on then to item B, correspondence on Kevin Comber.
Okay, so as you know, when we receive these, letters go out to tell them that it's just a straw ballot, and we'll let them know when we'll put it on the ballot for the general, it's only for the general election, straw ballot. And Mr. Ray Hackett, for letter C, sir, Mr.
Yeah, what is that?
He's a candidate for, oh,
I saw the email
Yeah,
correspondence
so-
says not suing yet.
no, oh, yeah. He picked up a packet, and he attempted to register online. And there was a problem with him registering online, but it was addressed. So that's why I'm thinking that's why he's not suing yet.
But-
We're not clear.
Yeah, the issue was the Guam ID,
Yeah, he didn't have one, so
but he had a government of Guam worker ID,
that.
which we
so,
didn't
yeah.
accept.
Well, no, we can accept it if the voter is in front of us, but it's not, he cannot register online with the government
With
ID.
that, yes.
It has to be a current Guam ID or a current Guam driver's license to register online. So I believe one of our staff went to register him.
Okay. Okay, any questions? Okay, moving on to the executive director's report.
The timeline is on page 15. So as of today, you have the candidates who filed. We now have 26 with the inclusion of Ms. Lujan. 27 with Ms. Lujan as number 27. She did file her packet, but we took her name off until the decision was made by the commission.
Okay, any questions? Okay, moving on to item
Okay.
B.
Yeah, so with regard to the polling site, sir, we've been talking to, we have options in GIGO. We're a lot worried because FB and Simon Sanchez are both
Innovation.
yeah, but we called the Central Department of Education, and they asked us to submit a memo with regard to the use of the FBLG Simon Sanchez cafeteria. The cafeteria is not part of the renovation for FBLG. In GIGO, also, there's DL Paris. The walkways there were a problem for us because they were leaking. They fixed them, but talking with the mayor up there, the other option is Matsanao Elementary, which is a little ways from the village, but that's an option. It's a newer school. The facilities are a little better. We still are faced with Umatak. The options we're looking at, again, is the getting a modular office and putting it there. It's costly because of moving it to there only for August and then October, November. The moving it there is costly in and of itself. So it's a matter of whether we want it there and leave it there until the general election. Something that was brought up to us was that, the people from UMADAC are okay with voting at the mayor's office. And my answer to them, but maybe they deserve a better polling site. But we're limited to that across the island. One of the things that we have, bigger thing up against us is that we sent out a bid for our early vote center, and no one submitted any bids. So what we're doing now, what the staff are doing, is trying to see if anybody will submit price quotes for just 1 month, and that would be July, and then for fiscal year 24, and then another month in fiscal year 25 in October. We're being aggressive and talking to a couple of the hotels. We've talked to University of Guam. We've talked to GCC. GCC may be able to help us, but there's no confirmation yet.
So, is that on the agenda, the early vote? We discussed that
That's
soon?
with the elections, so
Yeah, because I
it's,
think,
yeah, and,
I think that's critical coming up, if we don't have
yeah.
a site.
So maybe, Mr. Chair, maybe we can call another meeting. May 3rd is the deadline for candidate filing. So maybe we can call another meeting together for the ratification. We just need to watch out for the schedule because May 4th is the retirement, Government of Guam Retirement Fund election. So maybe we will have the following Thursday, following May 4th, would get us enough time to go through the packets, and maybe the ratification of candidates may happen then.
Yeah.
It would be May 9th. And we can again address, and we'll keep you abreast of the early vote center at that time. There is times to submit another invitation for bid. And maybe the problem is, that it's for 6 months. And so maybe change it
If no one submitted
the first
or
time.
responded to this invitation, this first initial, and we decide to reissue another one.
Yeah.
Not of the same criteria, but maybe just the July and October. Maybe feasible. I mean, at the end of the day, I was asking Maria, we have to, plan B is to identify a public facility. If none of the private facilities are going to bid, because the only way you can, you don't really have to go out to bid for just a month, right?
No,
Because it's under a certain
it should
amount.
be under 25.
Yeah, but then if there's a public facility around, like GCC or UOG or somewhere else, then that's another option that we want to wrap up. I don't want to have one location for the primary and another location for the general, because that would just confuse the voters either way. Wherever we have it, we should have it for both the primary and the general election.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
Maria, 2 quick questions, please. This is what worried me. If we do decide to move to Machanal, will we have a good turnout, do you think? Because the reason why I'm saying that is because even for a low, previous we have a low turnout, and then when you're going to move voting place, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be a low turnout because the distance for one, and some of them don't even know where the place is. That's another issue. The other issue that I have is that I know we've been rumbling about UMADAC, and up to this day, we're still rumbling UMADAC. What can we resolve on that?
Sir, there's I mean, there's no other place in Umatic that's big enough or bigger than the mayor's office that's available. You know, the school's closed. There's a place that the Historic Preservation Trust rents, but it's not available. There's no other place in Umatic that's available for rent or for use as a polling site. The fire department is another place, but that's not something that
Well,
we
that
can
would be
use.
a more safety
Yeah.
issue.
More safety.
Yes.
So we're okay then with the same place?
You know, the people from Umatic are okay with it, sir. We've tried really hard to find something. We've tried throughout the years to find something, and we've worked with the mayor's office and constituents of Umatic, and even our precinct officials.
Yeah, you know, because that bothers me, because when my primo was still alive, that's one of the issues that we always brought up.
And he's already in heaven, and we still don't have an
Still
issue. But,
looking down at,
you know,
maybe that's why I'm bringing it up.
it is what it is with
Yeah.
Humatic, so.
And your primo's from Santa Rita.
Yeah, but still, because it's still lingering about what happened back in the days when we shut down the election over at Matic.
Mr. Vice Chair, at that time it was at the school,
Yeah, no, that's what I'm
Yeah.
saying.
not
Which-
at the mayor's office.
Not at the mayor's office.
Yeah.
So,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, keep us abreast on that then. Okay, next item.
The monthly voter by precinct is on page 27,
Yeah.
Mr. Chair. Please note that we're still working on the precinct realignment, so the 6 additional precincts will get you an update for the April report. Online motor voter registration is on page 28.
Before we go any further, Mr. Chair, I just on this total on page 27, right?
Huh.
I know that the last meeting we had was to add, you know, additional precinct, correct?
Okay.
How soon can we get that?
Or realign the
Yeah,
precincts.
so for the realignment, Mr.
Yes.
Vice Chair, for April, we'll get it for the April voter by precinct. The total number,
April, when April? Oh, okay, I'm
yeah,
sorry.
the total number is the same, sir?
I
It
know,
would be
but
the same, yeah.
it's the reason why I'm saying that, because we need to put this out SF for people that are gonna change where they're gonna vote.
I think, if I remember, sir, the polling sites don't change.
Yeah, no, but what I'm saying is what precinct are they gonna go?
Okay,
Because, you know, how people, especially the
Yeah.
Manamco.
Even if it's
I
in the
was here.
same.
yeah, Honggan,
Yeah.
Honggan,
yeah.
yeah.
So,
April.
April, thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Item D, the monthly financial report.
We're still in the transition, so if you see Helen's report is not quite complete. The transition is from the AS400 to the new system, and we have yet to get a good report from there. Our challenge is getting to know which of our expenses have been paid already, so we cannot get you good numbers on our expenditures.
Okay, any questions?
Just one. Do we still have outstanding balance that we haven't paid?
This, Mr. Vice Chair, we don't know. We know that some of our vendors have not been paid, but the complication is at Department of Administration with the transition to the new system. Yeah, we're not so sure which of our vendors have been paid. We know some of our vendors have checked with us. Cell phones have not been disconnected, so we're still, they haven't given us a definite date of when, when we can find all this out.
So we don't know exactly
What's
when
outstanding?
are we gonna get the new not paid out, right?
Which
The
one?
non-paid?
No, but our,
We don't have the time frame.
no, Taza.
Okay.
Okay. Item E, the Office of the Inspector General audit, where we at?
Sir, I was hoping that we cleared it in this month. There'll be one more reiteration of me answering for one of the things, and we're looking to maybe the end of the month.
Okay, any questions? The 2023 financial disclosure statement filings.
Deadline for the financial disclosure statements is April 22nd for the full financial disclosures. Those that are required get automatic extension upon request. We put on your desk updated one as of today. Boards and commissions, all they file is the conflict of interest statements.
Okay. Okay, any questions on that? Moving on then to old business items, Campaign Finance Committee.
Nothing new to report on that, sir. Although in letter B, we did receive on the open or enclosed primary, we did receive a letter from the Democratic Party Executive Chair indicating that they want to continue with the open primary. And that's on page 40.
Right. Okay. Any questions, comments? Okay, the election manual
Okay,
update.
that will do for the after. For modernizing election process, in front of you is a picture of what the express vote can do. So the express votes can now do 3 columns, so we won't have the problem with
We don't have to abide by the gentleman's agreement.
that. We don't need to go to that one, yeah. But I have one more challenge in front of me, in that it's to figure out if our express votes are version 1 or 2. If I'm thinking it's version 2, and if it's version 2, they can upgrade it like this. Okay, so I'll keep you posted
So
with that.
this will be, is this similar to this will be like the ballot, the
Hungen.
paper ballot?
Yes, yes, yeah. And for us, it's just two columns.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, and I think, well, Joe and I think all 15 names, or however number of candidates will
Yeah. Okay.
happen, will be there. We'll keep you posted
good.
with this one.
Yeah.
Also, with the modernizing of the election process and talking with our vendor, the new machines came out recently, tabulating machines. The tabulating machines that we have count 90 ballots per minute. The upgrade for that, they're called the 950s. They tabulate 300 ballots per minute.
That's the upgrade. So the current one does 90 versus the upgrade.
So we can go home at 9 o'clock then, is what you're saying?
I don't know, we'll ask Commissioner Pat, because he deals with the candidates, with the media. But, I'd like to look into getting those. If we issue an invitation for bid, which we'll have to because of the price, I want to check. I want to see if we can buy that. We have the federal funds to do that. One of the things I might get picked on is, our machines are not that old. That's what we have. We want our stakeholders to know that we're trying our best to get the results out as quickly as possible.
But we want the machines to be as modernized and
As
as
efficient and modernized as
efficient.
possible, yeah.
As possible, so.
I'm sorry, say again, the second one does 300
Hungen.
ballots a minute,
Hungen.
and what was the first one?
The ones we do now is 90 ballots a minute.
Yeah.
So Commissioner Pat,
How many voters are we expecting?
last time we got 37,000.
Yeah. That was a 56% turnout. Just as a reminder.
Yeah, so do you want me to check?
It's funded by, it's federal, so it doesn't, impact any local funding, number one. Number two is it moves us towards, this modernizing of our election process. But I think we should pursue it. It's coming out of the federal
Yeah.
funding
Yeah,
program.
Mr.
so.
Chair, I think I want to make sure that the commissioners know that it's, we've been doing central tabulation, and it seems, people know that it works and they don't have questions as to the accuracy of the central tabulation. I know that some of the commissioners have been talking about precinct counts, but those precinct scanners that will be stationed at the precincts, the accuracy of those would be dependent on the confidence of our precinct officials. So with the 37,000 to 40,000, central tab may work.
Mr. Chair, I was wondering if we might be able to get a preview of this new machine in action and maybe get some,
Demo? Is there a possible demo? That we can use that?
Is that possible?
There's, Commissioner Benny Guahan, there is a video on the website. They can, I don't know if they'll ship it to us. I can ask.
no, even if we get a video or something.
There's a
but-
video. I can send you all the video tonight.
Yeah, it would be a good idea to get some sort of a idea,
Mm-hmm.
what we're dealing with.
Yeah, so the actual housing of the machine is just a little taller than what we have now. It's about the same size.
I'm more concerned with, getting the vote count out correctly, accurately, and as, instead of the way we're doing it now, where we're waiting until the next day to get a final report. Is this going to move us in that direction? It sounds like
200?
it. Yeah. But, before we get all excited, definitely would like to be,
Yeah, so the other critical element is the work of the precinct officials.
Yeah.
So we're working on that too.
I think
So,
that's where the-
Yeah, but if you remember, there's always a time when we stack up the ballot boxes that have yet to be counted. And hopefully with the 300 per minute, we won't have stacked ballot boxes waiting for us, no?
Yeah.
And how many machines are you looking at?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So what do you need for that? You need,
Just your approval for me to go ahead and
You need a
look
motion
into
by
it.
the
Yeah, and
commission
maybe, I wonder if it's too early to say, go ahead and issue an invitation for bid.
Well, if we're targeting the primary, to start with the primary, then, yeah, that's coming up, right? That's not,
Yeah, to issue an invitation.
yeah,
for
so we're entertaining a motion to issue an invitation to bid for these new, is this an upgrade machine?
bid. Yes, for tabulators, for new tabulators.
They're new
They're new,
tabulators.
Yeah.
The motion is to issue an invitation to bid for new tabulators, two, right? Two new tabulators, yeah. That will expedite the tabulation. So is there a motion?
I have a question.
Yes.
So for the federal funds that we're using to buy the tabulators, is it specifically for tabulators?
It's called the Election Security Grant. It's for the administration of the elections.
And it includes things like this equipment?
How
And
much is that grant?
Yeah, what is the cost?
I'm sorry?
What is the cost
It's about 135.
each?
Yeah.
How much do we have in that grant?
Right now, we have 444,000, and we have 200,000 coming, even up to 24, fiscal year 24.
Are we able to use that federal funding for primary election costs?
Yes. Because the congressional delegate is on it.
And there's enough time?
There's enough.
If we, okay. So the motion by Commissioner Gumatauta
I second.
to issue the invitation to bid, seconded by Commissioner Joe Meno. Any further discussions? All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Oppose? Okay. Okay, Maria, next. Competitive grant?
Scheduled to teach the class come July, session 3, and we're looking for 25 students for the Help America Vote grant. That's item F, I mean E. Item F, I just reported on the security grant as well. On the bills, these are the bills, 214, 215, and 216 were signed into law. So 216 is about the write-in votes, so we don't need to publish unless it affects the results of the election. 215 says that the public auditor and the attorney general will not be on the primary election. And 216 says that the Guam Police Department will be involved with the electioneering.
And the only thing that didn't go through was the reporting, the election reports, right?
Yeah.
The campaign thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
And yeah, that didn't go through.
Yeah.
And then item J,
Item J.
sir, is the public official financial disclosure. I was asked to go to the Attorney General's office with regard to the GVB requirement, public official disclosure requirement. Legal counsel and I went there yesterday. They said they wouldn't have any more questions for us.
And the issue here was Senator Taitigui had requested for the commission to request for full financial disclosures from the members of the Guam Visitors Bureau, as opposed to just their conflict of interest disclosure, right? And our take of that is that we're just the custodian of these reports coming in. The enforcement really is we can report these to the Attorney General's office if they didn't file, et cetera. So she took it a step further and filed a complaint, I guess, with the Attorney General's office to have us carry out that role. And there's an investigator that was assigned to investigate, and that's where they're at, correct? Okay.
So with the new business, sir,
Moving on to new business?
Yeah.
Yeah.
so the RFP for the early vote center, no one, and then the,
Maria,
Yes.
can I just, excuse me, Mr. Chair. I know that I'm one of the member for the early vote center, but can I use that if Commissioner Meno can accept, and I'll have him take over that since this is newly, so he can see, what's going on really. I've been in this for a long time, so it's only appropriate that he sees what's going on. Are you okay?
Mr. Vice Chair, with your wisdom, of course, I'll accept it.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So
makeup of the,
this is for the evaluation
vote
committee,
center,
for the
Yeah.
early vote center. Okay, so that'll be, instead of Vice Chair Joe Mafnas, it'll be Commissioner Joe Meno. Okay.
with regard to the RFP for legal counsel, that's due May 6th. We can, so I'll be sending stuff to the evaluation committee, and then it could be discussed at the May 9th meeting.
Okay. Okay, any further questions on new business? Moving on, yes, Commissioner.
Mr. Chair, if I could go back for one question or two questions on the voting, on the tabulating machines. What we're talking about there, the 300 a minute tabulating machines, it's pretty cool. That's about 2 hours to do. That'd be pretty fast. But that's where the tabulation still takes place at the field house. Are we also looking at the machines where the tabulation takes place at the precinct level?
Yes, sir. And so, Commissioner Pat, I had mentioned that to take it to the precinct level, Our confidence has to be in the precinct officials and how to handle what we call the precinct scanners. So that we can, with the new machines, we'll still need them for like early votes, right? So we can still use that together with precinct scanners when we get there. The precinct scanners, the software, what legal counsel works with, that will work with the precinct scanners, the tabulator, all that is in the same system. We just need to upgrade our software for the election results management.
Okay, now you've got me completely
Sorry.
confused.
Okay.
It would seem like we don't need the high-speed scan or tabulator if we have precinct scanners.
Yeah, so,
Or, I mean, I mean, it would just seem, if we had precinct scanners, then you would have once the thumb drive or whatever the mechanism is turned in at the field house, you'd have them tabulated pretty much instantaneously, wouldn't you?
the drives are not the challenge for precinct officials. The challenge for precinct officials is what they do if the ballot gets stuck, how they operate the precinct scanners. Those are challenges that we need to address first. So what I'm saying is, to get there, yes, we can continue to use the 450s, but for maybe the next election cycle, are we going to stick with we can use all of the machines together. The precinct scanner, the new tabulator, all those can work together, yes.
Well, if we don't have, I guess my next follow-on question is, do we have the money, do we have the federal money to go after both? Or do we have to choose
Okay.
Apple or
We have the money to go to get both.
Yeah.
One of the options is are we able to get there, to use the precinct scanners like a few of the commissioners want? Can we pilot it so that we can say, okay, we have confidence in the precinct officials? We can do that. We can pilot it in a few small precincts and get the new machines that will tabulate those votes. Do we need both? If we're going to go straight to the precinct scanners, no. We don't need to we don't need the high precinct scanners, maybe, because of the early votes. The early vote center, I think we still need that. We still need to figure how to get there with the absentee ballots, counting them. One of the things is, should we pilot it in some of the small precincts, the precinct scanners? And that stuff we have here, and if you remember, it's almost like a trash can, and they just feed the ballots in there. That one, we can demonstrate here again.
Okay.
Yeah.
And I think the issue is that confidence level with the precinct officials. That's my concern.
Yes.
If we're having problems with them just administering the manual process in the precinct, I don't think the general public is going to be comfortable with them touching ballots to count at this stage. So I think we need to we can pilot small villages, but I want a very high confidence level with our precinct officials, which means they need training. Or regional. Yeah, or regional. Go back to the regional.
Now that's something that I like.
I think another consideration is you need to look at what the statute says.
Yeah.
Because remember what happens when there's a torn ballot? I need one of each of you.
Yeah.
If there's someone who just dots it, someone needs to be able to, one of each of you, to go and color it in. If there's any challenges to the ballots, it's one of each of you. So that means each of you have to be at a precinct just in case there's,
And there's
and I
not
don't think
enough
there's
of
enough
us.
bodies of you.
Yeah.
So those are the things that you, in order to move forward, you need to look at what the legislation requires you guys to do. And so, you know, we have that roster of all the things, and I don't know how many, how many challenges that we have to mark down every time, and every time we have to look for you guys to replicate a ballot because it got torn, or complete the ballot, or make a determination of the voter's intent. I don't think you want to push that onto precinct officials because that's not their role under the statute. It's your role. So I think that part of the law needs to also be revisited if you're going to proceed with changing how, if you're going to change the count down at the precinct level.
Yeah.
I think one thing, Mr. Chairman, to put into this discussion is early voting. With early voting, how many, we have the information as to how many go to early vote, and how many go to the precincts to vote on election day. That too falls into this, that too is a pretty vital part of this discussion with modernization.
I mean, at least the good step is to upgrade the machine so we can count more ballots. So we'll see how that works. Okay. We'll move on then to legal counsel's report. Okay. An update on that. Public comments. No public comments. We already had that earlier. Then our next meeting, Maria, next meeting? May 9th?
May 9th.
May 9th.
Yeah, May 3rd is the deadline, so May 9th would be our next meeting.
Okay.
Yeah, okay?
So May 9th will be our next meeting at 5:30 here at the Commission office. Seeing no further business, is there a motion to adjourn? Motion by Commissioner Gumatautel, second?
I second.
Second by Commissioner Joe Mena. All those in favor, say aye. Aye. Meeting is adjourned until May 9th at 5:30 at the Guam Election Commission office.